Hello, 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 and welcome to the new series, Move to JBLM. I am your host, Whitney. I am a Air Force veteran and also real estate agent for the Puget Sound that specializes in people using their VA home loan. Today's first topic is going to be about pcs'ing, the tips and tricks about it, and I'm going to give you 26 tricks and tips on how to make your PCS a little bit easier of a transition. I decided to do this podcast because of the fact that a lot of my people who are PCS in the JBLM and a lot of resources that I see online, like the JBLM spouse page and Move to JBLM spouse page, I'm seeing a lot of people asking different things like, how do I make friends in the area, what to do when my family comes, etc. So today I am tackling the topic PCS tips. Moving is hard, moving to another state is harder. 26 tips. So let's get right on in and let's talk about it. So first tip, pre-plan your move. As soon as you get your orders or your spouse gets their orders, start researching. I'm sure that you're probably already researching. You're already one step ahead. If you found this podcast or someone has sent it to you, understanding exactly what you need to do. Start implementing all these tips. Start telling people. Start making lists. Start doing everything. Pre-plan this move. The second tip is a first night box. I think a lot of people forget that when you're moving, you're so stressed out about everything. You kind of forget that as soon as you get there, you're not gonna have all your household things. So things like putting a shower curtain, toilet paper, toiletries, air mattress, sheets, pillows, a portable chair, a table, paper blinds. That's gonna be really a big one. Paper blinds is going to be huge. You're gonna get to a place, you might be sleeping in a living room, you might even be sleeping in a hotel. What if they don't have blinds? Hotels normally do, but what if you're in an Airbnb, etc.? We don't know exactly what it's gonna look like. Ready to drink coffee and tea. Those should be all requirements that are inside of your first night box, including like important paperwork and stuff like that. But a lot of people forget toilet paper, toiletries, even that air mattress, because if you are moving directly into a possible house that you're purchasing or a possible house that you're renting, where are you gonna sleep? So that is one of my very first big tips that I suggest. Number 3, organize with color coding. So when you have the people packing up and putting your boxes together, color code. Get those little sheets of colored dots right here if you're watching it. Basically, those colored sheet packets that have like the red dots, the yellow dots, the green dots, the orange dots, etc. And color code each room. Make a little map. Say kitchen is orange, bathrooms are green, primary bedroom is yellow, kids' bedrooms are another color, whatever color. I would get multiple colors, and then I would put on the boxes those colored dots. Now, it seems like a lot of tedious work, but trust me, when you get to your new duty station, when you get here, having those dots in the right place, and then when you can print out colored paper that match those dots, so you're not having to sit there and go, okay, that box is gonna go here, that box is going to go there. Your movers are going to be like, oh, okay, the orange dots are going to go in the orange room, the green dots are going to go in the green room. Who can mess up color coding? A kindergartner can do that. So that is one of my biggest tips that I highly suggest. I let all of my clients know, even if you're not PCS, even if it's a simple move from one neighborhood to another, those colored dots have saved a lot of people. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that one. Communication on the go, number 4. I know that this sounds really stupid, but walkie-talkies. I know that it's kind of like we're past it. We have cell phones, we have all that kind of stuff, but it is kind of a pain in the butt to try and call or text. To be able to hit that simple little button of boop, boop, hey, we're gonna stop here, especially if you're traveling in 2 different cars. Some people have multiple cars. Some people might not be shipping that other car. So that is one thing that I highly recommend. It is going to make your life a lot easier. Even having it when you're back home, you can be in a different room or whatever when the movers are there. So it's kind of a silly little tip, but it's a tip that has been introduced by a lot of people who have given me these tips, so I included it. Number 5, important document folder. You're going to want to carry all of your important documents. I know that this seems silly of me to mention, but the stress of a move, especially the stress of a move, moving cross country, or if you're coming to CONUS, there's going to be things that you're going to forget. So you're going to want to start building that little file folder that you can go get at Target, Staples, Walmart, one of those little file folder things. You're going to want to put documents like your LES, your vehicle registration, marriage certificates, death certificates, etc. Put all of your stuff in taxes and receipts for potential tax reductions. So it is really important. A lot of people already think of it, but a lot of people don't. So I would definitely have all of those documents on there. And one of the other tips that I'm going to be putting a little bit lower in this list is a power of attorney. You're going to want to keep that power of attorney in there as well, because nothing is worse than going, oh crap, what box was that in? Let me go searching through it. That's the worst. So make sure you keep that on you at all times in your car. Possibly if you're going into a hotel between the drives, you bring that in with you, because if your car gets broken into and those documents are stolen, it's going to be a bad day. All right, number 6, account and address updates. This is a big one. A lot of people kind of forget to do that. I would do it before you move. I would be putting in to every single thing, and I will put a list up here if you're watching it of all the different things that you're going to want to change address with. You're going to start with your kids' school if you have kiddos. You're going to want to let your banks know anything local if you have a local credit union. You're going to want to let your student loans, insurance, medical providers, utility companies. Those are all huge things that you are going to want to let people know that you have a change of address. I know that seems stupid, but a lot of people get so frazzled again that they completely forget. All right, medical appointments. This is a big one. Number 7, schedule and attend any pending medical appointments coming up. I have heard horror stories, especially at Madigan, about how long it takes as a new patient to get a medical appointment. You're going to want to take care, especially if you have any kind of chronic illness, or you have an annual that needs to come up, or you're switching during school season and you're going to need a physical for your kiddos. Get that done with an already established provider before you PCS. Do not put it off for trying to get an appointment when you first get to base. It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to add way more stress. You're going to want to go ahead and have all of those certificates, that clean bill of health, those shots. I mean, anything that you need to do, especially if you're someone who has a chronic illness, you're going to want to get that done prior to coming to JBLM, prior to moving, period. It is so much easier. On top of that, don't just forget about you. Don't forget about your pets. It is a lot easier to get your pet into their annual appointment. Of course, things can happen on the road of like dog gets into something or cat gets into something. You're going to need to establish someone. But I would go ahead and, 1, make those appointments for your pets prior to leaving for a clean bill of health. Make sure you get all of the medical records for your pets for the transfer to vets. And then also, I highly recommend establishing a vet prior to coming here. I recommend Lakewood Veterinary Clinic. They're just incredibly affordable. They're not too far from base, and you get quality care. So I recommend them. I would call them. I would let them know, hey, we're going to be moving to the area. I want to establish a vet. We just want to get our information transferred over. When we get there, when would be a good time for us to drop off our pets' medical records? That way, if something happens, you're already in their system. It's less of a headache. You're not scrambling at the last moment. You're not having to go to an emergency vet, etc. So I highly recommend that. Number 8, notify school and your kids. This obviously only applies to people who have kiddos, but notifying the schools prior, as soon as you find out that you're having orders, letting them know, hey, we're going to be pcs'ing, we're going to be leaving, especially if your kid isn't on base. If it's at a normal school, it's not normal necessarily for kids to be leaving. So they will be able to prep them at school. A good teacher will be able to. And you'll be able to prep your kiddos too. Do not wait until the last minute to prep your students, or not your students, but your children that you guys are going to be pcs'ing. Don't wait till the last minute. My background is in teaching. That's what I did prior to what I do now. And let me tell you, kids are incredibly smart. And if you're throwing off their routine and you're panicking, they're going to pick up on it. So letting them know, hey, we're moving to JBLM, show them pictures of the base, let them know about the Space Needle and about the Puget Sound. And there's children's museums here that are incredible that they'll get to participate in, and let them know about the weather. Get them pumped, get them excited about moving, because it's going to be stressful for them too. They're going to be losing friends. It's going to be a completely different environment. The move itself is incredibly stressful. That's going to take some time to decompress from. So I highly recommend just letting them know up front. Don't make it a secret. Don't think that keeping it a secret is going to help them with the transition. I promise you it'll do the complete opposite. So notify them. Number 9, use up all your perishable items. I'm sure that most of you guys already know that people who are packing you up are not going to take used food, candles, etc. Use up all of those items before you move. You're not going to want to deal with that. And I highly recommend donating. If you can donate to maybe even a school or just to one of the homeless shelters around, it's gonna save you, and it's going to, be advantageous to the community around you. Number 10, plan your travel and inform people of your route A to B. Safety first. You're gonna want to know people from where you're leaving, and then possibly your sponsor at your new base, or if you're buying a house, letting your real estate agent know. Hopefully that's me, or anyone. If you've accounted for friends, people knowing where you're at on your transition, even if you're posting it on social media, will keep you safe. I mean, obviously, if you have a private account, I wouldn't be like, oh, we're at this hotel, for random people to be like their entire life savings and their life possessions are in their car in the parking lot of this hotel. Be smart about it, but obviously letting someone know exactly where you're at and checking in with them often, I highly recommend. It's just safety. Number 11, obtain a power of attorney. I know this seems really silly, but if you have a spouse and you're traveling with them, give them a general power of attorney. Just go to JAG before you leave and go get that general power of attorney set up. Especially the active duty member, they're going to be doing a lot of in-processing things, and the spouse is going to be left having to deal with a lot of household stuff. Registering cars in the area, you're going to need both people, especially if you're both on it. Just having that power of attorney. Registering kids to schools, you're going to want to have that power of attorney. If you are purchasing a house and one spouse is somewhere and one spouse is the other place, because we know how it is when it's active duty, you're going to want that power of attorney. And just generalize it. Make it a general. You can put an expiration date on it. Obviously, I'm not an expert in all of this, but I would do it. It's going to save your butt in the long run. It'll be a lot easier just to have it and then have it expire maybe a month after you are report to date to JBLM. That way, if there's trust issues or anything like that, you kind of have an expiration date on it. So I would contact JAG and I would do that. Number 12, insurance coverage. This is a big one. Making sure your insurance for your cars, you know that you're going to be traveling out of state. It's just so if you get into a car crash when you're on your way, but also obtaining moving insurance. I don't think USAA does it, and a lot of people use USAA, and I've looked into it. I'm pretty sure they don't, but I would ask, we're always generating new products for veterans and active duty members through various entities. But I would ask your moving company or look into Googling moving insurance. It is strictly to cover moving costs. It's strictly to cover your valuables during a move. It's kind of like renter's insurance, but it covers the liability of a car crash, the moving company, etc. with your stuff. And if they crash, they should offer their own insurance too, but maybe to cover that gap. So if they only cover up to 70%, maybe you can have that gap for 30%. So really look into it. This was a suggestion that was given to me by a spouse who said, hey, we had moving insurance and it completely covered us. We were moving Oconus, our stuff was on a ship, and everything got completely ruined by moisture, and they lost everything. They completely lost everything because of it. And they were incredibly glad that they had moving insurance, because the transport company covered 70% and they were able to get the rest of the 30%, so 100% of the loan or a value of what their property stuff was. So this kind of brings me to my next point, number 13, household inventory. Creating a detailed inventory list of all the items being moved. Once you find out that you have your orders, start making that inventory list. Start with the most valuable stuff that you have, writing it down either on a piece of paper or an Excel spreadsheet. However your brain works, you are going to want to 100% know exactly what you're moving. Do not rely on them coming to move you and the little tags and the lists and stuff like that. That's a great backup, but you are going to want to have your own list. And anytime, just keep it a growing list. If this is a career for you and you know you're going to be PCSing a lot, keep it a growing list. Anytime that you guys go buy something new and valuable, add it. Keep adding it. You're going to want to know this because of like the tips before, the number 12 of insurance coverage. They're going to want to know everything that you have that you're going to want to replace. And I would put a value on there. Okay, our couch cost us $1,500 or $3,000. You're going to want to know exactly how much that is. So when you do have to file a claim, or if something does get broken, you know exactly what's missing. You know exactly how much it's worth and you're not scrambling. And in the worst case scenario, like my friends, that happened where all of their household goods, I mean, every single household good was completely ruined. They knew exactly what was in there and how much each item costs, and they already had it calculated. It made the system and the process a lot easier in the long run. So highly, highly recommend doing that. Number 14, base housing list. If you are planning to live on base, try and contact them early. It's called Lincoln Housing. I'm going to be having a guest on here eventually. I don't know exactly what week it's going to be, of someone who lives on base and all the good and the bad of living on base. I know a lot of people like it because it's a lot easier, the commute's better, but if you have the option of living off base, contact me or contact a property management company and possibly weigh your pros and cons of it. But if you are planning on living on base, try and see if you can get onto the waiting list, because I've heard it's incredibly long, especially if you have a big family, and especially depending on your rank, what neighborhoods you're going to want to live in. I would try and get on it as soon as you have hard orders, because it is a long list. So that's one of the biggest things that I recommend. Number 15, air tags or GPS trackers. Any valuable box, which I would be the one that packs your valuable box yourself and padding it, I would put an air tag in that box, and I would put it on your phone, and I would label it accordingly, exactly what's in that box. That way you can track it. The amount of horror stories that I have heard of people who are PCSing and they get all of their stuff except for 2 or 3 boxes, and they're like, well, we don't know what happened to it. Well, buddy, guess what? I'm tracking this box, and why is it in the back of someone's car in this parking lot right now? How did it get from the back of this truck, which I watched it go into this truck, to over here? You'll be able to track it. I mean, depending on who you are, if you want to confront them or not. I don't recommend it. That's not very safe, but at least you'd be able to notify the MPs or the local police department in the area that your valuables were stolen. I would buy as many AirTags as you can. I know that there is a pack of 4 AirTags. If you're an Apple user, a pack of 4 AirTags for $99. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them on Amazon. I just highly recommend it. But I mean, if you cannot take your valuable box with you, or even just high ticket items, or even just putting it in any box so you know exactly where your household goods are, because I've also heard horror stories of people who have their entire shipment has been completely lost. This way you can be like, oh, it's right here. What are you talking about? I have it GPS tracked. It's right here. It's going to be really hard for that moving company to kind of backtrack of claiming that your stuff is completely missing when you know exactly where it is with that GPS tracker. So I highly recommend it. I do it. I did it with my last move, and I was just moving across town. It just kind of is a little bit of a peace of mind. I'd rather spend that $99 than lose thousands of dollars worth of household goods. So number 16, this should have probably been up closer to keeping important documents, but making sure that you have digital copies and a portable hard drive, or even on the cloud, just in case your physical copies are lost or damaged. I know a lot of people don't really think about that, but I highly recommend always having some kind of backup. And being military, you probably should have everything backed up. Keep everything that you have. I mean, even if you don't even think you'll ever need it, keep it as a backup. Number 17, plan for pets. Don't forget to plan their move, making sure that they have all their tags up to date, their rabies up to date. Make sure you're researching pet-friendly accommodations in advance, especially if you are driving from the East Coast over. You don't want to leave those pets out. I know for me, my dog Alfred is like my biggest pride and joy. He goes literally everywhere with me, and I'm always planning for him. He actually has better accommodations and plans than I do for myself. So I'm sure that those pet parents out there are going to have this on lockdown, but just don't forget about your 4-legged fur babies. Number 18, packing portable essentials in your car. This would include car chargers, snacks, water, a first aid kit, a map just in case your phone loses signal and it's unreliable, those walkie-talkies that I was talking about earlier in the podcast as a big one, because you know, when you don't have service, if you're going through a dead spot, you can still, with the walkie-talkies, they'll have range, you'd still be able to communicate. Just having all of those. So I would just make a little pack of everything with snacks, essential things, if making sure that you have closed-toed shoes if you need to walk, if you run out of gas, blankets in your car, just the emergency essentials. Driving long distances to get to a new duty station. You never know. You never know what can happen. You never know if you're in the middle of nowhere, you're on a pass or anything like that. Speaking of that, if you are driving over to JBLM in the winter, you're going to be going over some passes, mountain passes. You're going to want to have chains for your car. If you do not have to buy it at the bottom of the mountain. They're going to be 10 times more expensive than if you get it before you leave. If you are in a place that even carries chains, so I would think if you're coming from Alabama or somewhere in the South where there is no snow, you're probably not going to have many options for that. But as soon as you do come in contact with a place that does have options to buy chains, I would purchase them, especially if you're coming in the winter. If you're coming in the summer, you don't need those. Number 19, this kind of seems silly, but declutter and donate. This is your time to purge. This is your time to declutter. This is your time to get rid of all of those items that you do not need. I would donate as much as possible. Maybe you're involved in a church group. Maybe you want to do a yard sale before you leave, but nothing is worse than basically hauling trash and hauling things that you're not going to need. You don't know exactly what your accommodations are going to look like. You don't know what your storage is going to look like. Get rid of all of the things that are non-essential. You've got old baby clothes. You've got, you know, old furniture that is in a room that you never use, just go ahead. This is the time to get rid of it. Stay hydrated and energized. This is tip number 20. Moving is physically taxing, emotionally taxing. It is awful. If you're if you are someone who is very into fitness, make sure that you keep on your routines. Make sure that you make time to maybe go on a run or go to the gym or do whatever. Try and keep your schedule as close to what you typically do and when you're not moving. Also, staying hydrated. A lot of people forget, I'm very guilty of it, going on long road trips or even flights or anything like that, is not being hydrated during it. Because your body is under so much stress and the cortisol levels are going to be high, you are going to get sick a lot easier, especially if you're staying in hotels, especially if you're moving cross country. The stress on your body is possibly going to make you sick, from going into the multiple gas stations to take potty breaks, to stopping at rest stops, to sleeping in hotels, and then just sitting and being stagnant the entire time. Water is essential to life. It is essential to keeping your system flushed. It's essential for keeping things moving in your body, making sure that you stay hydrated, making sure everyone in your car stays hydrated. I understand. I am a big proponent of not drinking as much, so I don't have to stop and go to the bathroom as often. But I would rather postpone my trip of getting there an hour early by using restroom stops, because I don't want to get sick. It's just, we are constantly, with COVID that just happened and everything, the less sick I am, the more healthy I am, the more I keep on my routine, the more level-headed I am, the less stressed out I am. It's completely worth it to me than saving an hour or 2 hours on my trip. So I highly recommend that. Number 21, verifying weight limits with your movers, especially if you're doing a Diddy move. You're just going to want to verify it. You're going to want to help you plan your budget, be more effective, etc. This is kind of like a silly little tip, but it's always good to know, especially with those type A personalities and being very analytical. And if you have your list of stuff, you just want to verify it. Yeah, this is a big one. 22, label all of your cables and electronics. Go behind your TV, get that blue painter's tape, wrap it around and label exactly what it is. You've got loose cables. I know with my podcast equipment that I have cords coming out the wazoo. And if I were to be doing a move right now with how settled I am into my place and having certain cords that I have in drawers that I know exactly what it is, but when you're moving and all those cords get thrown into a box, you're gonna pull it out and go, what the heck does this go to? Just label them just before you leave. Blue painter's tape, a Sharpie, or even a regular pen. Write on what it is, wrap it around the cord, throw it in a box. It's gonna make your life so much easier when you get to your new spot. Trust me on that one. That's probably my most valuable one, besides the colored dots and the air tags. Number 23, arrange child and pet care on moving day. Do this in advance. Do it when you are leaving and do it when you come back, because trust me, having a dog or a cat or anything that you're worried about escaping out of the house when movers are coming in and out, even having children, even if it's a neighbor, hey, can you watch my kiddo? Can you do this? Maybe even jumping on that JBLM spouse page. Hey, we're PCSing into the area on this date. We're looking for childcare for the day that our movers are coming. Or you can even talk to neighbors, because sometimes it takes a couple of weeks for your household goods to meet up with you when you get here. And then obviously finding like maybe a pet daycare or rover.com or something like that will help with the pet situation. Nothing is more stressful than moving day, but nothing is more stressful than moving day with a bunch of kids running around and you worried about, did they go out the door? Are they coming up? Mommy, daddy, can I do this? Can I do that? Them crying, you trying to point and do everything that you need to do on moving day. Make your life a lot easier, especially if you have family or really close friends that can help out. This is the biggest tip. This is make your life a lot easier on moving day. Number 24, consider professional cleaning services. If you can afford it, I would do it. There are a lot of people on Angie's List or even Craigslist or your local Facebook page who are just starting cleaning services to help you out at a lower price. It can really help out if you're a person that's just, I'm over this, I'm done, I'm tired, I'm just gonna leave it in the hands of someone else. Obviously, I know this is a luxury for some people, and not necessarily it's something that everyone can do. I completely understand that, but if you can afford it, I would splurge. I would do it. Moving is one of the most stressful things that you can do. They call it one of your top 5 most stressful things in life is moving, especially if you're moving cross country, but especially if you're moving Oconus. You are probably going to want to do everything that you can to alleviate stress. So hiring a cleaning company is something that I put on my list. That's what I would do. Number 25, emergency preparedness kit. Wow, and you can't talk. Making sure that you have flashlights, batteries, basic toolkit, a fire extinguisher, basic first aid kit for any unforeseeable situation. One of the things that I give as a closing gift for all of my clients that I have, regardless if they're selling or buying, is a emergency kit. I have items as a fire blankets for every member of their family. I have a fire extinguisher, a plunger. I have all of those essential items that I give to my clients as a closing gift, because it's not a sexy closing gift. It's not a sexy thing to think about. It is something that you don't even really think about until you are in this situation and you're like, why didn't I prep for this? So I highly recommend making yourself a clear tote that has all of those items. And if you're watching it, I'll be listing it right here above. And in the description of the episode, I will be putting those items as well. Don't catch yourself in a situation where there's a potential fire or a break-in or someone falls down the stairs or anything like that. You're going to want to be prepared. So this is a 10 out of 10. Don't think about it. If you're listening to this episode and you don't have an emergency prep box, go to Walmart and make yourself one. Don't catch yourself needing it and not having it. And number 26, our last tip, secure your valuables. Jewelry, important documents. You're going to want to keep it with you. I mentioned it above, keeping it in a file folder. I'm just reiterating, any family heirloom, anything that could be easily stolen by a moving company, movers. You have to remember that these moving companies, they might be reliable, but it's kind of a revolving door of an industry for employees. People get burnt out really quickly. Most employees that work for them are younger, kind of at their last resort. It's not really one of those sexy industries where people really want to work. So I am a type of person that doesn't trust anyone, especially with all of my household goods. So I really would not be the first one to step up and be like, oh, my valuables are gonna be okay in this truck. Not me. So I will make room in my car for an entire box of any valuables that I have. If I have to rent a little tiny trailer to pull behind me and my little SUV, I'm gonna do it. Especially since I have hundreds of plants. I'm not going to be trusting those with my movers and my dog. So that is what I have for you today. PCS tips. Moving is hard. Moving to another state is harder. I hope that these tips help. If you have more tips, please leave it in the comments below. The whole goal of this podcast is to help others in the same situation that you are. If I forgot something, I'm sure it'll be very valuable to someone listening or watching this podcast episode. So leave it in the comments below. Let me know if you've used these tricks and tips before. Thanks again for watching this week's video. I hope you enjoyed, and of course, if you know someone that is looking to buy, sell, or invest in the next 6 months, reach out. I would love to help.